Welcome back to Capitol Square, everybody. I'm Jim Heath. Today we're talking with Governor-elect John Kasich. We pick up the interview discussing a deal that was struck late last year that kept another animal cruelty measure off the ballot. Clearly, the new governor is not impressed by threats coming from the Humane Society of the United States. There's been some talk that that Humane Society deal that avoided them coming into the state, that might unravel to some degree with your administration coming in. Are you concerned, or is there an effort or a way that would toughen up the ability of outside interest groups from getting on Ohio's ballot?
Well,
would you support such a thing?
Yeah, well, I would. I would think about the fact, do we want a bunch of people from California coming into Ohio and imposing their values on us? I don't like that. I don't like that as a citizen, let alone as the leader of the state. So I think Jim Zeringer, my ag secretary, who, by the way, has met with the Humane Society people in an effort to try to make sure that we keep the waters calm, I think it's his bill that would limit, you know, you have to get your campaign contributions inside the state or whatever. Probably makes some sense, and we'd have to look at it.
Just about every one of your cabinet officials, as you've announced them, the Democratic Party, is ready within 5 minutes to point out that most of them have been white male. Is that a legitimate criticism? You've heard it. I mean, that's something that it seems to be a coordinated message from your opponents that this cabinet is not diverse or representing Ohio.
Not responding. I don't pay any, again, I don't pay any attention, but if you're asking me the question, I mean, I have the first woman chief of staff, I think, in Ohio history, who's coming in at the beginning and helping me to run this operation, number one. Number two, I just named the first woman adjutant general in the history of Ohio, and there's only 2 of them in the entire country. So we pick people on the basis of who's qualified. We don't pick them on the basis of quotas. I mean, I think quotas are yesterday. I think picking qualified people and being open to people is the way to go. I have no, you know, I don't like say that because you're a certain race or religion or, you know, or anything here, political, you know, political persuasion, that somehow you're in or you're out. I mean, let's get the best people for the job.
There was a bill that the NRA and the Buckeye Firearms Association strongly supported that almost passed in this lame duck session. Speaker Butish decided not to bring the House back into session deliberately to kind of kill that bill. So let me just ask you, if a bill that allows concealed weapons in restaurants and bars came to your desk as governor next year, what's your thought?
Well, I'm pro-gun. You know, it was trying to be said during this campaign that I was not pro-gun. I'm pro-gun. And look, you don't want people drinking shots of whiskey and carrying a gun. They put reasonable restrictions. But yeah, I believe in concealed carry, and I believe in the Second Amendment. And but you know, we'll see what happens on that. I don't want to comment on every piece of legislation, but
that one would look good.
I don't have a problem with it. I had to respond to questionnaires about this, and you know, change my position.
A lot of private-public partnerships. When we look at prisons, you mentioned earlier, is that something on the agenda?
Well,
and can that be put towards the budget?
Here's a way to think about the way to think about public-private partnerships is if you have a revenue stream, it's possible to be able to take it out of the public and be able to get revenue for that, and you can even build infrastructure doing it. You know, they've done it in Chicago, they've done it in other places. So yeah, private partnerships are on the table. Look, I've said all along that, you know, I might want to lease the Turnpike. I wouldn't want to sell it forever, but I might want to lease it for 50 years. We take a look at what we can get for it. And
that is something that would go almost immediately to fix this immediate problem. The savings of
look,
that.
I mean, we haven't, again, I don't know that I'm going to do it, but there would be a split between infrastructure improvement, which we need and can lead to economic growth. It also can be used for, you know, for Jobs Ohio to run that operation, maybe some of it to be used for other programs. But we'd be reasonable in that, but a big chunk of it would be used to improve infrastructure. At least, you know, I don't want to give you numbers, because once I give you a number, you know, I'm held to it. Or I could give you a number, and I could always tell you I changed my mind.
Right.
I mean, you know, I think the most important thing, not the most important, but one of the important things in this job, Jim, is for me to be myself. You know, look, and if I say something and I want to change my mind, I'm just going to say it. Look, that's all people want. They want you to be yourself, be direct, you know. But, you know, the Turnpike is a valuable asset. And if we can figure out a way like Indiana has to use it for ourselves. And I happen to believe it's an operation that's been very independent. It's kind of an independent country up there, you know, in the turnpike. So we'll see what the numbers are.
Just a few more questions. Back to the regulatory issue that you raised. I mean, there's a political reality.
With Mary Taylor?
Yeah, well, I mean, she would be heading this.
Yes.
Coming from Arizona, they have a system there, the Governor's Regulatory Review Council, where 7 appointees, basically every state agency has to go to them, and it takes the political heat off legislators, and they're able to point over there.
Did they invent a camel yet when they were supposed to come up with a cow? I don't know.
I mean, is that something that, because there is political pressure for every regulation, seemingly.
You know, Jim, let me tell you, you know, when I appointed the head of the Department of Transportation, he asked me, how many special projects did you announce to people? I said 0. He couldn't believe it. You know, it is not our job to worry about, you know, the criticism. Look, we're human, so we're going to be worried about it, and nobody wants to get criticized. But if you let the criticism deter you from doing what's right, you fail, you'll be a loser. And
but lawmakers might have their own individual interests within that.
Then, you know, so be it. I don't, you know, if there's an individual interest that hurts us from creating jobs for families, I'm going to do everything I can to take it down. I mean, the lawmakers may say, you know, I don't like it, but, you know, if it's hurting a family, I think I can reason with them and get them to go along. So what we're going to do with Mary is Mary's going to look at every rule and regulation we have to see which ones make sense and which ones don't. We're going to get input from the Chamber of Commerce's, we're going to get input from the small business community, and the heads of all these departments are going to report to her on this. If we can make Ohio a better regulatory state, businesses begin to say, hey, they've got common sense there. That's what people fear. In Ohio, they fear high taxes, over-regulation, and they fear unions that will not be cooperative with them. Now, on that score, I just talked to the head of the UAW and the Chrysler Fiat plant up in Toledo. I got on the phone with the Chrysler executive who told me that it's the second most efficient plant in America. Fantastic. I'm going to go up there and go meet the CEO and all that. The point of the matter is, if we can get labor that makes things like the UAW to cooperate with management, we can begin to improve the brand on that as well. That's our goal.
When we return, is John Kasich considering another White House bid? His thoughts on that after this break.